Horde shooters come in all shapes and sizes. There's Warframe, which has an emphasis on movement and grinding. There's Left 4 Dead, which has an emphasis on story and resource management. And there's Splatoon's Salmon Run, which has an emphasis on teamwork and boss slaying. One Horde shooter that rises above the rest, though, with amazing design is Team Fortress 2's Man vs. Machine game mode, which elegantly strikes a balance of game knowledge emphasis and game skill emphasis to create one of the tightest PvE experiences out there. Man vs. Machine, or MvM for short, is built around one simple goal: to stop the robots from bringing a bomb into the base. Custom waves of robots will assail, with one robot serving as the bomb carrier. If the bomb makes it all the way, it's game over. In addition to worrying about the bomb, players are also responsible for collecting money. Whenever a robot dies, they drop a stack of bills at the location of their death. Picking it up grants the team money that at the end of the round they can use to spend on upgrades for their selected class and equipment. Players must assemble their team and defend until all waves have been defeated. When playing MvM, there are two phases that the pacing swaps between: the planning phase and the execution phase. The planning phase takes place between rounds. It has a linear set of goals that include reading and assessing incoming bot waves, determining what classes would work best for the incoming challenges, and then choosing the proper weapons and upgrades to deal with those incoming threats. This phase is where the majority of the strategy gameplay comes into the picture. Certain classes and certain weapons hard counter specific robots, and it's up to the players to understand and utilize that to their advantage. For example, in a round with tanks and giant scouts, it may be useful to bring in a pyro to deal with a tank, and to have the heavy switch to the Natasha in order to slow down the giant scouts. Most challenges are open-ended, allowing for a wide variety of strategies and approaches to be used in taking them down, adding to the fun and creativity of the gameplay. Once all players are ready, the wave starts and the execution phase begins. The execution phase is a cyclical phase involving setting up a line of defense, holding that line, and getting overrun. This is the phase where tight gameplay skills come into play, as players must execute proper target priority, adaptive positioning, and team coordination in order to succeed. Using that same tank and scout round as an example, if the heavy chooses to focus the tank leaving the pyro to focus the scouts, the team will lose the round as neither player was playing to their classes and weapons strengths. In order to tie these two phases together, MvM is designed such that the team's performance in one phase can make the other easier. If during the execution phase the team succeeds at collecting all the money, players will have more freedom to strategize and itemize during the planning phase. In addition, if the team successfully strategizes to counter the incoming wave, the execution phase can be a cakewalk. That counterplay is the main driving force of Man vs. Machine. All of the interesting decision-making and build crafting revolves around creating a specialized team to destroy the threats of the incoming wave. It adds a layer of creativity and expertise that keeps players coming back for more. So let's talk about classes. Every class is designed with specific roles that can tackle certain challenges. Understanding these roles is important not only for excelling at playing the game, but also for designing fun, fair, and exciting waves. Let's take a look at each class one by one to get the gist of how they're designed. First up, we have the Scout. With his speed and mobility, Scout is a money collector, support, and tank. Using his plethora of supportive equipment, such as the healing Mad Milk or the damage buffing Fanowar, he keeps the team alive and kicking. Soldier. Soldier specializes in AoE damage and support. He excels at dealing with grouped bots as well as supporting the team with his stuns and buffs. Pyro. Pyro specializes in AoE damage and support. They are able to provide useful knockback and can easily deal with tanks and small bots. Demoman. Demoman specializes in AoE damage, pick potential, and DPS. Depending on his equipment, he can deal with uber medics, group bots, spread bots, or tanks. Engineer. Engineer is a support who provides DPS and tanking potential. He provides ammo with his dispenser, mobility with his teleporter, and can body block with his sentry. In addition, the sentry can deal with small bots while the engineer himself can shred through tanks. Heavy. Heavy has insane DPS and tanking skills. He blocks bots with his body as well as dishing out tons of damage to giants. Medic. The Medic is a support specialist. He provides healing to the team and can protect them against heavy projectile spam and crits. Sniper. The Sniper is a DPS and AoE damage powerhouse. Snipers can deal with almost every type of robot, but only with great skill. Sniper is especially good at dealing with uber medics. And finally, we have Spy. Spy is a support and pick class who also is decent at money collection. His Sapper provides stun and CC for grouped bots, while his Knife excels at dealing with giant medics. In Expert MvM, all three of the maps are built upon the same structural formula. While this may seem dull at first glance, keeping the maps consistent does have its advantages. Having consistent design means that the skills and strategies players develop playing one map are transferable to the next. This keeps the mode from being a completely different game depending on the mission selected. Most importantly, it allows for the wave design of each mission to be wildly creative and different, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. Let's look at that structure. Each expert map begins with a main corridor. It can be wide or narrow and serves the purpose of presenting newly spawned bots to the player in an open space where they have the ability to be fired upon before reaching the choke point. From the main corridor stem the routes. These are the predetermined paths that all bots must follow on their way to the base. Every round, one path is chosen randomly that all bots must follow. Having these routes adds that extra little bit of variety to keep every round fresh. Outside of the main routes are flanks. These are used sparingly for support bots to get behind the defensive hold and disrupt the players. This keeps players on their toes and forces them to be more aware of their surroundings, lest they get too much tunnel vision and meet an unfortunate demise. At the point where the main routes diverge is a central hut. This central hut acts as a way to quickly move from one route to the other while also providing a reliable place for engineers to place their teleporters and snipers to set up camp. Further down the road is the moat. Each map has an environmental hazard that forces the bots to lose progress if knocked into it. In the case of Decoy, if a robot falls into this moat, they must walk all the way back to the start to get back on track. This gameplay is actually intended, as when the bomb carrier gets knocked into the moat, the announcer proclaims,
"Yes! The bomb has been sent back to the start!"
The last feature of note in Expert MvM map design lies in the choke points. Each Expert map has 3 choke points along their main routes. These chokes serve as locations for the team to set up their line of defense, meaning that if the team gets overrun at one, they can always move back to the next one. Choke points are critical. The more chokes a map has, the more chances the team has to recover, and thus the easier the map becomes. The wave design of MvM is focused entirely around the different robots that can be sent out each round. Each robot that can be sent in a wave encourages players to strategize, itemize, and play differently. Understanding the purpose of each robot type is key to not only succeeding at playing at the game, but designing for it too. Let's go over a couple examples. This is an Uber Medic. This robot latches onto another, and when that other robot drops to low health, they both become invulnerable for a set period of time. In order to not get overrun by invulnerable enemies, players must first dispatch the medics, or find a way to stun and delay the bots until the invulnerability period ends. Including these in a wave forces players to be more careful about their splash damage and target priority. This is a Giant Scout. This robot aims to grab the bomb and run past the line of defense to the base. Giant Scouts don't really deal damage, but they're important to focus down and body block, as if one sneaks past the front line, the round is already over. Including these in a round keeps players on their toes and alert for every small movement. This is a tank. Tanks drive slowly down the route until they reach the end. Tanks come with their own bomb and have massive health bars. Often, they drive along the opposite route that the bots are running on. This pathing, in conjunction with their high health, forces the team to split their defenses and to have 1 or 2 players committed to tank busting duty. Additionally, including one at the end of the final wave, serves as a fun unifying moment to close out the mission. I could go through every single robot type in the game and discuss their role in the greater design of the game mode, but you get the gist. Specific bots serve specific purposes and encourage specific gameplay of the players. So with all that in mind, let's quickly go wave by wave through the mission Decoy Desperation, and let's play a round of MvM. Wave 1. We've got soldiers and Uber Medics, giant Demo Knights with Scout and Pyro on support. Scout and Engineer usually are played every round, so let's enlist them. Let's also enlist a Sniper to deal with the Medics and some Heavies to deal with the Demo Knights. Finally, let's set up our front line a bit further back to give the Sniper time to take out the Medics. Done. Wave 2. We've got giant Heavies, giant Scouts, Pyros with Scout and Spy on support. Here, let's grab some Heavies again for the Giants and maybe a Soldier to deal with the group Pyros and support. Wave 3. Fists of Steel, Soldiers and Medics, giant Crit Soldier with Pyro Sniper support. Let's grab Sniper for the Medics, Heavies for the Giants, and maybe a Medic of our own for blocking the crits. Wave 4. Tank, giant crit soldiers with assorted support. Same strategy as Wave 3, but let's swap the sniper to a pyro to destroy the tank. Wave 5, giant reflector heavies with giant quick fix medics on them, plus some miscellaneous bots backing them up. Let's grab a spy to take out the medics before they pop uber, and let's grab some heavies to deal with the giant heavies. It may be useful to grab a soldier or demo for some AoE, but they have to be careful that their projectiles don't get reflected. Wave 6, giant soldiers, heavies and uber medics, and some small bots. Sniper for the medics, heavies for the giants, and someone for AoE. And finally, Wave 7. Tanks, pyros, heavies, medics, giants, we've got it all. So long as we have a good mix of DPS, AoE, pick, and tank busting, we should be fine. And that's Expert MvM. Using an emphasis on counterplay, the game mode is able to present challenges to the player that don't require pinpoint accuracy and expert reaction time to overcome. Waves aren't designed with the intention of overpowering players, but are instead designed with the intention to encourage them to solve the problems presented. When taken on without strategy, waves can seem impossible, but when taken on in such a way that deals with the threats, waves can seem like a cakewalk. When designing PvE experiences, taking a note or two out of the Man vs. Machine textbook is certainly a smart decision.